It is 41 minutes after 10 p.m. Central African time. If you have just joined us, thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. This is indeed Channel Africa, where we bring you that African perspective. Now, across homes, relationships, and communities, the echoes of unhealed trauma continue to shape how we live and how we love. But breaking the cycle begins with speaking out, taking action, and creating spaces for healing. Kgothatso Moloto, who is the founder and president of Voice It in Action, is an advocate and a community leader whose organization has been driving a bold new campaign that challenges silence, calls for accountability, and supports survivors in their healing journey. He joins us here in studio. Good evening, sir. Welcome to African Diaries.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with your most current, I want to say, initiative, right? I hopped onto your website, and the first thing I saw was 999, and that enticed me. What's that about?
Right. So the 999 Youth Employment Campaign is aimed at creating an army of young people who are going to work to fight against GBVF. The problem with gender-based violence is that we do not have a consistent team. Let me give you an example. If you are affected by GBVF right now here in Auckland Park, who do you call? You go to the SAPS, you get turned back. Who do you call? Because there are relevant stakeholders and organizations that we need to be able to reach out to. So the 999 will help us to create a map of organizations or entities or individuals who can help you in your time of need. Somebody that you can call who is near you, who is in your vicinity, who's in your ward, so that it's easier for you to find help.
Let's bring context to the 999 folks. Are we saying these are 999 organizations, individuals spread out through South Africa? What's the context?
It's 999 young people who are graduates, who we would like to employ. We will give them activities on a monthly basis, but they will have three key aspects, which is our pillars: education and sustainable development, safety and justice, which covers gender-based violence in particular, and then we've got sustainable economic opportunities. Within these three key pillars, these young people are going to be working on solutions that we've put together. For example, Project Zero. No turnbacks must happen at any police station. These young people are then going to find other organizations that we can collaborate with. And if we're successful, when we are successful, we'll have about 10,000 young people that we get to work with nationwide who are from organizations placed at different police stations. So they become like the youth desk of that particular police station. Those young people at the different police stations are going to work with the different stakeholders, the different departments, to make sure that work is being done and to make sure that there's correct follow-ups and to make sure that the right systems are, put in place, the right approaches are done. For example, if you're at a police station and you get turned back, how do we deal with that particular challenge? They will have the answers, and they will make sure that the relevant stakeholders who are supposed to be there are held accountable, from DSD, SAPS, Department of Health, and any other relevant stakeholder that is funded. Because, the biggest challenge is that we've got many organizations that are funded by government, but nobody's holding them accountable. So we also want to find out, where are they and what are they doing? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? In a nutshell, with gender-based violence, there is, I want to call a silo approach to doing this work, but everybody should be working together. And I'm hoping that with the National GBVF Council that is being established, that more young people will be forming part of it rather than organizations that have already been in existence. Maybe they could bring in a new energy, and I'm hoping that they could take from us and from the 999.
You talk about accountability, and I think my biggest concern is you're injecting these 999 into a system that already isn't proving to be accountable. What gives you hope that they will manage to secure that element of the organization?
So we are going to make sure that they, I want to find the right words. We're going to make sure that we're going to train them, of course, give them an understanding, how does the NSP on gender-based violence work, what is supposed to be happening. How is it supposed to be happening? And they will be having monthly engagements with those stakeholders to say that this is what's supposed to be happening. Where are we? Then they will have a checklist of sort. And obviously in the beginning, it will then start off with the training and the engagements. Going forward, we'll need to make sure that at least they are meeting our requirements. Because yes, the system might be failing because they're not meeting the requirements. Maybe they don't even know what those requirements are. Maybe they need to be guided and directed. The NSP needs to be localized in our communities, and that could be part of the changes that are required that could help in actually making sure that there is accountability and that victims and survivors are assisted in the best way possible. For example, they should have a social worker on site at any police station. If that is not the case, we need to understand why that's not the case. We need to have the victim empowerment unit or room must be working. People must be asked. For example, if you get to a police station and you are a victim of gender-based violence, you need to be asked first and foremost, even before they get into the case or dealing with your matter publicly. Hi, what type of matter are you bringing? Is it a sensitive matter? Would you like to be moved to the victim empowerment space where you can tell us about your matter? Because the police will sometimes just openly speak about what you're suffering from, and if it's a gender-based violence issue and you don't know who's sitting behind you or around you, you then become like, is this the right space for me to speak? So those are some of the things that we will be checking. Those are some of the items that we want to make sure that they are being done correctly, and if it's not happening, then we can report and give a report to national government or to the various stakeholders to say that, why is this not happening? This is what you've put in your manuals. This is what you've put in your, Bibles, your GBVF, NSP, National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence. This is what you're saying must happen, but why is it not happening here? We have tried to do X, Y, and Z. How can we resolve the issue? So the young people, I believe, will be in a position to ask the right questions, make the correct follow-ups, and also try and apply the necessary pressure. I mean, imagine 999 young people speaking one language across the country. That could make a difference. And remember, they're not just the 999. We will collaborate with other organizations, other youth-led organizations. We will collaborate with other existing organizations as well. And most importantly, we are going to create 1 million beacons of hope in the process.
I think what's really beautiful about your initiative is that it encompasses different generations that will speak into each other. However, I am concerned about the funding. This appears to be a project that requires a lot of money.
It does need a lot of money. So but here's what we're going to do. We need 250,000 backers. We're going to host monthly activities that generate some type of a resource. Gender-based violence does not generate money. It is not a business. It takes rather than putting in. So we need to find ways of generating resources so that we can sustain the activities. So these young people are basically going to be working for the resources. If we don't achieve our targets, if we don't get to the numbers, we will not be able to sustain the activities. But here's the reality. We want to fight against gender-based violence. Let's prove that we want to fight against the problem. How do we prove that we want to fight against the problem? Let's back an initiative. If we can have 250,000 people participating in a program on a monthly basis, we'll have enough money to pay these young people, because at the end of the day, these young people will need to survive. They will need to live. They will need to eat. And if we are supported, I was saying to, we were sitting in the National Consultative session with the Department of Women, Youth and Personal Disabilities, and I was saying to them that we need to create programs that are sustainable. We can't just have a 16 days of activism and not be able to measure how is it going to work. And I was saying to them that for us to be able to achieve that sustainability leg, every provincial government, or every province will need to support us. So if it's 250,000, it means that plus minus 30,000 per province will need to support this initiative. If the provincial government is backing it, we can have 30,000 people participating across the province. Then we could reach our target of having 250,000 people supporting, and we could have those resources on a monthly basis. We're going to do different things. In January, for example, the back to school campaign. because our pillar of education and sustainable development, if we can educate young people from a young age and give them, the necessary support, I think we can also reduce, or they can also share their challenges. If they're witnessing gender-based violence at home, they could talk about it at school to say that this is my problem. But we're going to empower these young people, give them new hairstyle changes, haircuts for boys, hairstyle, changes for girls, and basically we're grooming them, we're showing them that, look, you can look good, you look great. They don't need to go to blesses, for the girls, because they might not have the money. And they're going to start the new year feeling good, feeling confident. But what have we done? We've inspired the next generation. And we would have done some type of fundraising to reach our target. But we would have assisted 250,000 kids who go back to school looking good and not having a problem. We're also going to challenge them to say, have a library card, participate in extramural activities, so that at least you're having an all-rounder education. But in the process, also understand that bullying is wrong, gender-based violence is wrong, and also come up with ways of talking about it amongst your peers. So we're saying education can come in various forms. If we've empowered them, with a crown of excellence, they can then say, I look great, I'm empowered, let me empower my peers as well.
Sure.
So that's one of them.
The voice there of Kgothatso Moloto, who is the founder and president of Voice It in Action. I want to return back to your very first statement. You asked a question, in actual fact. You said, Shayla, if something happens to you here in Auckland Park, who do you turn to? I want to talk about the repetitive nature of the trauma of GBV. Because you made such a stellar point to say that you get turned down by organization X and then Y and then Z. And it's almost like you need to relive this experience, telling different people but not receiving the necessary help. In your findings, I do believe that you have done research. Have you seen this repetitive nature floating across the spectrum of research that you've done?
Yes. A moment of pleasure for a perpetrator is a lifetime of torment for a victim or a survivor. So we will have repetitive traumatic experiences. So we are saying, as part of our solutions that these 999 young people would be running, we want to see monthly psychosocial programs where survivors and victims can come together, talk about their challenges, so that they can be empowered. If you talk about your challenges and you talk about them consistently, every time there's a flare, every time there's a case, people will always be traumatized. But if they have that consistent program, they could at least find a way, I'm not feeling good, but I know that we're having a session sometime in this month, so I might feel good. Or if they need it sooner, because they would have, these communities, they would then be able to get the necessary assistance. So people get traumatized consistently. It's something that could never be forgotten. I mean, if you've been violated, it will be with you. Every corner, every place, every spot will always be a reminder of what you would have experienced. So if we have these psychosocial programs in place, we could potentially reduce the reoccurrence of trauma, but also to strengthen those who are going through their process of trying to seek justice. They might think, I'm stronger now, at least there's somebody who's with me. I don't have to end or drop this case. I can continue. But currently, if we look at the statistics, there's a number of cases that get opened, but not all of them go through. So looking at the number of cases that have not gone through, it can tell you that unfortunately, somewhere, somehow, we are failing. Somewhere, somehow, there are gaps. And these gaps, we can identify and fill them from a psychosocial perspective, from the justice system. The court proceedings are very cold. It's like we stamp pass. What happened to the victims? If they go into that court proceeding and their case gets called up, the judge, reads, the court case proceeds. After that, it's done. What happens to the victim? If they are not, if they are not happy with what was discussed or shared, who do they talk to? So there's a lot of gaps that we can try and fill with our campaigns and programs.
Let's talk about conscientizing the public. Right, I think this initiative needs more than the 999. I think it needs everybody, right? And And how do, okay, so you come prepared.
I come very prepared.
How do we conscientize the public, firstly, to be sensitive to the reality of participating in some kind of trigger for the next individual, but also how to be sensitive and to be open and to allow people to converse? Because you said something so interesting. You said that the repetitive talk can induce some kind of trauma or re-induce the trauma, but also the reality is that when you do have the right context, then you be able to speak about it proactively, productively. And so for those who are saying, I won't be able to come to that event, perhaps I'm not even a person who's experienced GBVF. I am a friend, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, and I want to be a healthy individual for the next, so that I can create that environment. How do we go about doing that?
You know, education is critical.
Yeah.
It's key. One of our campaigns, in Easterus, we had a case where 4 bodies were found. And there apparently is a serial killer who is a serial rapist. He was in court and he got released on bail, and then he continued to perpetrate these crimes, but this time he started killing. Now, I went a bit off topic, but there's a link that I want to bring in. If we as the community know that things are happening, we could be better prepared. If we knew that a potential person of this nature is in our community through the CPF or the communications platform, I think the community could have been better prepared. But unfortunately, women were violated, women were murdered, women were pulled into the railway line. So how can an ordinary South African participate? Remember, the programs that we are establishing, they're not just for victims. They're for everyone. The 250,000 backers, everybody can participate. They can either contribute towards the campaign, they could go to a hike, or they could buy a t-shirt. So the 1 million Tees campaign is going to be a consistent reminder. Well, you know, when you're a Sundowns fan or a Chiefs fan,
yeah,
you have your t-shirt. So now for the fight against gender-based violence, become a beacon of hope. What does this say to a victim? How can you subconsciously, share a message of hope to the next person? If a person sees you wearing the t-shirt and they are a victim themselves, they could be humbled, or they could be soothed to say that, hey, I don't know this person, but this person cares about me. This person understands my problem. They understand my need for help, and they are a beacon. I could always get some type of help. Then imagine seeing 1 million people across the country being beacons of hope. By the way, this is our funding strategy. We're going to raise funds through this campaign so that we can sustain the work that we do. And as a beacon of hope, you become a beacon of hope to the rest of your community. Those that walk past you, those that get to see you in the t-shirt, you're basically saying to them that I care about you, and you can break the silence, and there will be a group of people who care about you too, who are willing to help. Follow us and you'll be able to find the necessary help, or you'll be able to get to a link or information about who can assist you, or where can you go if there is a problem. But it has to start somewhere. We have to show it in action. We can't just say stop gender-based violence. I mean, we've been saying it for years. It's been said consistently. But how do we create the necessary resources? Like I said in the beginning, gender-based violence doesn't have the resources. For the past 10 years, I've been doing this work, and it's been a very difficult journey. But I'm committed to this work. We just need to be supported. And people can support us through our very innovative solutions.
Absolutely. Where do they get a hold of you?
All right. So they find us on our social media platforms at Voice It in Action, or on our website, www.viia.org.za, or on WhatsApp 068-274-9877.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been fruitful, and I commend the work that you're doing. I think that if we do put hands together, we can see change, tangible change.
Definitely.
And it's organizations such as yours that bring about that light. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
That is the voice of Kgothatso Moloto joining us this evening. He is the founder and president of Voice It in Action. 11 p.m. Central African time. Time for some music.